What's up, guys? We should be starting up now. And hello, welcome to another beautiful day in the NBA. Another beautiful day here on the Awesemo YouTube channel. We'll be taking you right to lock on the Live Before Lock show. I'm Chris Spags, joined by one of my usual co-conspirators here on the Live Before Lock show. A man you've seen around on this YouTube channel for far too long, but always a joy to have him in my life. The Chops for Josh Engleman. How you doing, Josh?
I'm pretty good. I feel good. I feel clear-headed today. I'm thinking I'm going to have a good day in DFS. I like it.
I was watching you yesterday morning, and I felt like you did a good job. So let's carry the momentum forward. And another man who's going to help us bring that heat today, a guy you've probably seen soaring past you on the GPP leaderboards across a bunch of sports during this quarantine. He's a man you've seen here on this channel. You should learn to know and love him. His name's Ryan, but you may know him as Rynpak. How are you doing, Ryan?
Doing well, Chris. Excited to join you too. Excited to talk about this afternoon NBA bubble slate.
It should be a fun one. And of course, one way you can make this a lot more fun for yourself is to take advantage of the deals we have at awesemo.com/join. In particular, one that's going away today is our restart promo code. It has been a great deal giving people access to all the sports that are back now. MLB, NBA, PGA, MMA, NASCAR, everything that's out there. Esports, of course, still going off. All the data that you need is at your fingertips with the promo code RESTART. It gets you half off your first month of Awesemo Plus at awesemo.com/join. So take advantage of it. Again, it goes away today. This is not some sort of, hey, we're trying to screw you over, get you in now. It is really, this is the best deal you will find coming from us in the coming weeks. So take advantage of it now to celebrate sports being back and use the promo code RESTART at awesemo.com/join. And of course, it would not be a Live Before Lock show if we weren't presented by SuperDraft. And you need to be getting on board with SuperDraft immediately because they are offering you fantastic deals to step into the future of daily fantasy sports. Experience SuperDraft's exclusive game mode multiplier where you say goodbye to salary restrictions and hello to pure lineup freedom. Use your fantasy sports knowledge to draft any player you want and build your own dream team because there's no limitations on the guys you can play there because of the multiplier format that's exclusive to SuperDraft. So play over there at superdraft.io or download SuperDraft in the App Store and use the promo code AWESEMO10. That's AWESEMO10. Gets you $10 free with your deposit of $10 or more. If you deposit over $100, you can get $20 free in Super Cash. That's instantly available for you to play. So take advantage of all those deals with the promo code AWESEMO10, AWESE. Wait, did I say that wrong?
You were good.
I just completely forgot how to spell the name of the website we were working for 2.5 years. AWESEMO10 at superdraft.io or by downloading SuperDraft in the App Store. That's AWESEMO10. SuperDraft, no limits, more winning. Speaking of more winning, let's talk basketball, and hopefully I'll spell the NBA correctly.
The old NAB.
the old NAB looking good today in the bubble. And some important news breaking before we came on the air. Malcolm Brogdon will be available today. He is going to be playing and have his minutes monitored. So let's talk through that for a second because he was a very important player the other day on the slate where we found out a little bit later. Emac and I were doing the Live Before Lock show / strategy show. Turned out he was out. Did see a nice day from Aaron Holiday. But Josh, I'll ask you first. With Brogdon in, how does that affect how you're viewing the Pacers today?
It certainly brings down a little bit the exposure that I had to Justin Holiday and Aaron Holiday. Justin Holiday not changing that much because I don't think it really is going to affect his minutes greatly. Aaron Holiday, I knocked back a minute or two. I had a decent amount of TJ McConnell on FanDuel previously. That's completely gone. I don't think that he has the opportunity for bigger minutes now. The question is Brogdon viable? I'm not entirely sure that he is. I don't know what a minutes monitoring means. I gave him 26. I don't really know what to do with that. I don't want him at that level. So for me, it's still a little bit now muted TJ Warren. There's not as much usage to go around. I think Miles Turner looks just as good as he did previously. I don't think it really affects him. But for me, Justin Holiday is the guy that I want the most from the Pacers, which never feels good, but luckily he's cheap.
Ryan, how are you feeling about that? Are you sharing Josh's enthusiasm for Justin Holiday, or are you a little more in my camp where I'm willing to take the Brogdon minutes restriction or minutes monitoring in the hopes that it's a classic Scott Brooks one where he just watches the minutes and goes, yep, he's sure playing minutes. And that's what I'm hoping I see from Brogdon today. But what are you enjoying here so far in your lineups that you're crunching, Ryan?
I mean, yeah, the Pacers are kind of in a gold mine today. They're playing the Wizards, and I know they're going to monitor Brogdon's minutes, but I'm cautiously optimistic he might play over 30. And if he plays over 30, I do like playing some of him out. I don't know what his ownership projections checks in right now, but I'm willing to be over the field with Brogdon. I think he's in a great matchup. I think he can pay that off if he does play over 30 minutes against the Wizards. But I obviously don't expect TJ Warren to shoot lights out and really break the slate again like he did last time. Instead, I'm more interested in playing Miles Turner, who I think is going to dominate in this matchup. And the Pacers are missing a ton. Even though Brogdon's playing, they're not going to have Oladipo today. They don't have Sabonis. I do think Turner's in a kind of a smash matchup, and I think he can pay off that price tag. Josh, you really didn't talk about Turner. What's your opinion on Turner? And do you like him in this matchup against Bryant?
Relatively neutral, I guess. I expect to have him. I don't expect to have too much. 6,100 feels about right. He's 32% owned in our last run. That seems about right. It's going to be hard for me to get significantly above that number. My guess is I come in that 25 to 30 range on Turner. And if I don't, I'll let you guys know. Crunch is about halfway done. He just sort of exists for me today.
I'm a little more on Turner as well, Ryan. So I'm with you on that. I think him busting the other day, not the best. There's another center on the slate who we could talk about as well, and Jakob Poeltl or Jacob Puddle if you want to go with some people's unclassy pronunciations out there. I feel like Poeltl and Turner are two guys who've busted recently, and I think that does tend to drop the ownership a little more than it should. And Turner's historically been a pretty big beneficiary of not having Sabonis out there. I think there's enough opportunity for Turner to go there. 31% ownership feels pretty chalky. I think you're probably getting a little more of a discount in ownership going to Poeltl, but I do like Turner. I think he's one of the plays I'm willing to build around today. And I think for cash, I guess, Josh, would you agree for cash that Turner's still the move?
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. Love him in cash. Wouldn't change a single thing there. I expect to have more Jaren Jackson at $100 more, or potentially I prefer Thomas Bryant to Miles Turner, $200 more. So he's just going to get pinched a little bit, but he looks great in that middle tier. Works in a balanced build or in a Stars and Scrubs type build.
Let's go to the other side of this game, because there is an important news item that came through, which people might miss amidst some of the other, frankly, more important news items. Ish Smith will be starting for Washington today. He's been good so far. He's been over 30 fantasy points in his 2 games here, playing off the bench behind Shabazz Napier. Napier's been looking pretty terrible. Troy Brown, I know, Josh, you were very bullish on him yesterday. He came through in a monster way, almost had a triple-double, putting up 50 fantasy points. So this Washington side, I think for me, I'm with the field on Troy Brown. It does seem wise after he played 38 minutes yesterday, though. I guess you could argue. I don't know. Troy Brown's a guy I really don't worry much about conditioning. I think he'll still be out there a bunch. But Ish, I think being out there does change the equation a bit. He's going to be under 15% owned. Ryan, how are you feeling about the equation here for the Wizards with Ish starting and also Troy Brown and Thomas Bryant both coming off of monster days, but they did play yesterday, so they're on a back-to-back.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be some recency bias obviously imported in their ownership. I personally got burned by Shabazz Napier pretty bad last night. So I was a little upset on that. I was looking forward to playing him again, but Ish Smith has just looked better, and he's kind of running the show for these fast-paced Wizards. Thomas Bryant is somewhere on Yahoo. I actually kind of locked him in. I think him and Miles Turner are the 2 centers I'm building over there at $22 and $16 respectively. So I like Thomas Bryant over there, but personally, I think Miles Turner can outperform Bryant in this matchup. So I like Bryant. He's one of my favorite plays on the slate. But when it comes to Ish Smith, I do think his ownership will be pretty inflated with this starting news. And there's some other value plays I'm kind of waiting on news for in the especially in the Denver situation to take advantage of. So it's not like I'm not interested in Ish Smith. I'm just not as high as the field right now.
Josh, how are you feeling about Ish as the police hopefully don't come for Ryan for all the robberies he's been committing in DFS tournaments over the last few months, apparently catching up with him. But Josh, what are you thinking here with the Wizards side of the equation with Ish starting and your boy Troy Brown not priced up and coming off of a day where he more than 10x his salary?
Yeah, still going to have a ton of Troy Brown as per usual. Have a lot of him on FanDuel. I'll have a little bit less on DK because he's a little bit more expensive, but still going to be over there. I assume I don't have much, if any, of Ish Smith. I don't really like him just in general. And if he's picking up north of 20% ownership, I'm just going to go a different direction. I really don't like this spot for the Wizards. against Indiana, especially with Brogdon in. That's just another talented body to be there. I'm just going to hope that Ish busts.
Okay, that's fair. I like Ish a little more than it seems like you guys do, especially Josh. I just think Ish is a pretty solid player, and he was really the guy I thought was going. Honestly, I kind of forgot Shabazz Napier was on the team during the Bradley Beal being out portion of things while we were waiting for the bubble to start up. But, Ish has been the better player out of him and Napier so far, and I do think, he can get his in a way that even if Troy Brown does go off, I think he can still get there. So a little more team-ish. But one other important news item we need to hit on: Dennis Schroeder left the bubble. Unclear if he's just craving some quality strip club chicken wings or if he's got a personal emergency. We don't know yet, but he is gone. That should result in chalk ownership for Shai. Actually, Shai was going to be chalk either way, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's ownership is up. Neil Gallinari, now one of the top owned plays on the slate across all the sites. He does gain a little bit in usage from not having Schroeder out there. Really, all these guys should get a bit of a bump because of no Schroeder. But Ryan, how are you feeling about this Oklahoma City lineup here? And are you willing to ride with the chalk, given that there's going to be 27% usage rate vacated by not having Schroeder in the mix?
Yeah, so I believe Schroeder's left the bubble for the birth of his second child.
Okay.
I remember they mentioned that before. So going into the OKC, I mean, they're playing like a broken down Denver team, a COVID infected team, pretty much, it seems like. I like OKC, and especially it's going to be interesting how they distribute Schroeder's minutes. I mean, Andre Roberson started playing for the first time in, I want to say, 18, 19 months. I like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, especially at 6K. I can see where many ways that he can pay off that price tag pretty easily. I do prefer him to Chris Paul just because, like, you're saving $1,700 on DraftKings, and I can see SGA easily outscoring him in this particular matchup. On the other side of outside of SGA, Danilo Gallinari is one of those guys who's very consistent in terms of he's never going to get you 50 points, but he'll never really bust your lineup. I believe he's priced at 5.9 on DraftKings. So I think if you want to a little safer out, I think you can count on Gallo just getting you there, but not really breaking the slate really. But I do like SGA. It's probably my favorite OKC play in my opinion.
Josh, how are you feeling about this Thunder equation here with the no Schroeder in the mix? And again, chalky ownership for Gallo, chalky ownership for Shai, slightly less chalky for Chris Paul, so maybe he's a little bit safer. Steven Adams also mostly overlooked, but how are you feeling about the Thunder?
Yeah, it's SGA for me, actually. Even with the ownership, I still think I'm happy to be there. Just finished my dummy crunch for DK, coming in north of the field on Shai. Pretty much neutral on Chris Paul, pretty massively under on Gallo. He's not a guy that I get to a lot. And with 36% ownership at this point, I think that I'm just going to be somewhere else. We've got, not that they're playing the same position, but we have Derek White $100 more expensive than Gallo right now at basically half the ownership. So I'm just inverting those two guys.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Certainly a way to get a little leverage on the field. And worth pointing out, Gallo should be very, very highly owned everywhere, and probably one of the, I would think, a cash game staple on the day for the reasons that Ryan mentioned. Not usually a lot of tournament upside, but a guy who's going to get you in that range you need to get to the cash finish line. So worth keeping in mind for Gallo if you get away from him in tournaments. The Denver side as well, we don't know about Jamal Murray yet unless there's anything that's come through since the show has started. I think the reports I was seeing is that he's trending towards doubtful, but Mike Malone said he just doesn't know yet. So I think that's going to be something we're going to have hang over us. But the other day we saw chalk Monty Morris, chalk Michael Porter Jr. with Murray out. We still do definitely have Gary Harris and Will Barton out. So Josh, what are you getting from the Nuggets side of this game going against Oklahoma City? And really, a lot of guys missing for Denver, but maybe not the most motivation for Denver right now for whatever reasons.
Yeah, I don't really have anything. 2% Paul Millsap, 2% Michael Porter Jr., 1.5% Nikola Jokic, and that's it. I'm just simply not on Denver. Now, I will say with the caveat, I am projecting Jamal Murray to be in and limited. If he ends up out, I assume I end up with some Monty Morris kind of by default. But for right now, I essentially just don't have Denver.
Are you with that, Ryan? Because I actually have more than I would like to admit of Michael Porter Jr. just because he did bust the other day. His price has come up. He's not minimum priced anymore, so he won't be a lock like people were treating him the other day. But I feel like those are the times where we do see Michael Porter Jr. spike an upside. I don't see Torrey Craig having a 30% plus assist rate in this spot like he did. That was a really big aberration that last time they played. So Rynpak, I'm going between both names, Ryan Rynpak. What are you doing here for Denver where Porter, maybe going back to the well there could be a move, or just go into the guys that Josh mentioned who could get some benefit with Murray if he does miss.
Well, Murray was just ruled out with a hamstring injury, so
good timing.
Transitioning to that, I like the rest of Denver now. I mean, I'm a big Michael Porter homer, even though he's a ghost on defense. I know he struggled last time out. He faced some foul trouble in the second half. Monty Morris faced some foul trouble in the first half, and they kind of really limited their value in terms of when the way they were priced last time. You wanted them both to get to 30 fantasy points, and I think Porter really did not perform that well. I'm willing to go back there. I know their prices have increased a little bit. I'm willing to take that risk, and hopefully they pay off this price. They just don't have that many bodies. But the only thing I'm really concerned about with Porter is obviously the way Malone treats him. I know Adam and Lofty talked about that in the strategy show. And this transitions into Jokic, in the Jokic matchup now. Jokic in the past has played really well against Steven Adams. I think in the past 5 times he's played OKC, he has gone above 50 fantasy points. But granted, things are different right now with the way OKC and Denver is since then. I do think Jokic is pretty safe. I know he gives you the $1,000 savings, $900 savings off of Embiid today. So I'm willing to go back to Denver today and willing to take that risk and hopefully be above the field on my selection.
Yeah, I'm with you on Porter Jr. I mean, I said it, but I just want to reiterate it. I do think there's a value in going to a guy who people really are going to be very angry at after what he did the other day, but he can spike an upside in a matchup here. And I think to make a point, to tack on to what Ryan said, what's going to happen? What's he going to do incorrectly defensively here that gets him into trouble? Is he going to let Lou Wentz Dort go off? I don't think he's going to be that in that type of spot that he was the other day. So that'd be why I would advocate a little more for Porter Jr. And certainly Morris's ownership should take an uptick, though. His price jump may be balanced out. Any interest, Ryan, at all for you and Jeremy Grant? It didn't jump off the page to me that he came off the bench, had about a 28% usage rate. Grant can spike that tournament upside. He's at a reasonable price. And as we talked about, there is just a lot of ball handling time and time putting up shots here that's going to be open for Denver. Is Grant somebody rating for you at all, or is it just the guys we talked about?
I mean, if you're looking for a narrative, you can call it a revenge game, even though I believe OKC really revived Jeremy Grant's career. I mean, if you want to have a few shares in your 150 lineups, I don't mind it. I'm more intrigued by Millsap, but they will. I don't see him playing above 30 minutes. I mean, Josh probably might have a better idea of how he allocates his minutes now with Murray out. It's not that I'm totally against it. I'll have a few shares, but not as many as Porter. Porter is the cheaper of those 3 power forwards, eligible players in Millsap, Grant. Porter checks in at 4,500, and I think I want to say he has the highest upside now of those 3.
Josh, you have any thoughts on these takes that we've been welling up and about the Denver big men and their various guys who can either ruin or make a night depending on how things go?
Yeah, I have Millsap in for 27 minutes. It's weird. Denver's missing, it feels like half their team, but it's only backcourt players. They still have Jokic. They still have Mason Plumlee. They still have Grant. They still have Millsap. That's the 4 and the 5. Michael Porter Jr. should be playing the 4. Bol is whatever position you want to make Bol, the body of a point guard and the body of a center, but the weight of a point guard. I don't know. You know what I mean? Another big man. So they've got plenty in that 3.5 to 5 area that I have trouble sifting through all of it. I've made a bigger stand on Embiid than I have for Jokic today. So I'm hoping to go that direction. I'm running another crunch now, obviously, with the news that Murray is officially out as I'm speaking it into existence. I don't get the sense that I'm going to be getting a ton from Denver either way.
All right, let's keep going here. And guys, hit the like button. It helps us out a bunch here, especially with some of these different show timings we have going on as we try to figure out what the best ways to approach things are. And also make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell because, again, those timings have changed. We have a ton of content coming out on the channel today because of all the sports going on. And also, again, previewing some of the PGA, some of the other things coming up later in the week. So just subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can keep up with whenever we have new content coming live on the channel. Josh mentioned Joel Embiid, so I think let's go there. We definitely want to talk Memphis and New Orleans in a little bit. bit. But Philadelphia does seem like we can get through it pretty fast. Embiid really had a monster day last time out, over 80 fantasy points. He's now priced up for that. Conditioning was there. He played 34 minutes, I believe. So he wasn't maybe as effective as you might think a player like him would be from some of the time off. Ben Simmons at the 4 looked pretty good. Also, I thought it was worth noting, and I don't know if this is going to be a long-term thing, but maybe open up some more usage for Tobias Harris, who put up a 31% usage rate in that game. And also you have a decently priced Josh Richardson for Philadelphia. So Ryan, what are you getting on Philadelphia? Are you taking the Joel Embiid, taking the little bite here that he offered up last time after going nuts, or does one of these other guys jump out, like Tobias Harris, who's projected for under 5% ownership?
Yeah, I mean, Joel Embiid just had a monster game. It was 40 and 20, and they still lost. So the thing about Embiid, I like him, but I do think I'm willing to save, like, let's say in the center position, I'm willing to probably go down to say $500 and play Anthony Davis possibly. But for those who haven't built on FanDuel, I think Simmons is 8,100. I like him there quite a bit. I think he can pay off that price tag pretty easily. Unfortunately, I couldn't watch this game to see how Simmons looked playing the 4 to start off and how much ball handling he had. So we're just going based off some numbers that I took a look at. I do think Embiid can pay it off. I'm obviously skeptical that he goes for 40 and 20 again, but I think he could. I think it's safe to project him around the high 40s, low 50s fantasy points. Speaking of projections, our Awesemo projections, I believe, are the free tool of the day. You guys should definitely check it out. It's the same projections Alex uses and the same projections you'll get if you sign up for the promo code RESTART. So I do like Embiid. It's not that I don't dislike Embiid. I do prefer trying to find a way to get above the field on Simmons today, though.
And as Ryan just mentioned there, the NBA projections actually are free today. I did not check that in our daily marketing plan, but I will drop a link into the chat so you guys can check them out yourself. And again, make sure to get all of the data. Take advantage of that promo code RESTART, which is coming up very soon. Really going to be gone at the end of the day, I believe, at probably midnight Central Time, to be my guess. But take advantage of it because that gives you half off your first month of all the data, NBA, PGA, MLB, everything that's out there right now. Get all of our tools and data with the promo code RESTART at awesemo.com/join. And you get a little sample here of the projections today, which are free, as Ryan mentioned. Josh, how about you with the Sixers? We got Joel Embiid, who just went off. Ben Simmons in a new role. Tobias Harris at a weird price that nobody's going to land on, but maybe him showing some more signs of life. And you do have Shake Milton and Josh Richardson too, and Al Horford, who I got in one lineup because I don't know who else to play at 7,500 on DraftKings at his position. So what are you doing with the Sixers?
Playing a lot of Joel Embiid and a mildly decent amount of Ben Simmons on FanDuel. On DraftKings, it's just Embiid. I don't have much of the rest of this squad. No real amounts of Simmons. He's 9,100. I don't really like that price tag. And then I definitely don't want anything else from Philadelphia. So it's basically like 2x the field on Embiid, and that's it for Philly. Go Embiid. Clearly, I'm going to be all over Embiid and not Jokic. That's been my take for years.
And now you're backing it up with your pocketbook, which is what we always hope for here.
That's me carrying a pocketbook.
Just a European carry-all is what you call it, to feel a little more masculine. A little more stylish. On the San Antonio side, we have some question marks. DeMar DeRozan, his price is up. He has been also playing something of a nominal power forward, and his usage rate has gone down quite a bit during the restart. Has been around 23% for him, which maybe people are sleeping on a little bit. And I know it firsthand from playing way too much DeMar DeRozan in their game so far. Derek White's been going off, though he did lose a little bit of usage last time with Patty Mills back in the mix. DeJounte Murray's been looking good, though always at a risk to lose minutes to either foul trouble or pops whims. And the aforementioned Jakob Poeltl, Jacob Puddle, if you want to go there, he is going to be 10% owned today after he blew up a lot of lineups yesterday. So that was entirely due to foul trouble. He was in foul trouble over and over and over again. He's in another matchup with Joel Embiid where he could get foul trouble again. So let's talk Poeltl here first, Ryan. I'm curious your thoughts. Are you going back to the Poeltl well today, or are you maybe not as into him because he really hasn't shown a ton so far in this restart?
Yeah, so Poeltl absolutely burned me yesterday. I was really frustrated with that. I mean, I went in, thinking pretty safe with that play, but I think he was in foul trouble, fouled out. He's all the way down to 5-1. I do not like the matchup against Embiid. I think it draws for another potential foul trouble for him. He hasn't played all that great against Philly, just looking at different box scores and whatnot. And I think he's priced all the way up to in the 6s on FanDuel. So If anything, he might be a play on SuperDraft based off his multiplier, which I'm trying to pull up. But even then, I'm willing to pay up for the centers, take the lower multiplier and safer options on SuperDraft, such as Thomas Bryant over there. But I'm not interested in Poto at all. But I do like DeJounte Murray kind of much across the board. They put themselves in a position to be the 8th seed now, which is pretty remarkable. And I like DeRozan on SuperDraft, especially with a 1.4 multiplier. So definitely considering an option there. I don't know if Rudy Gay is going to play the full minutes. I haven't get to read into really what Pop said. So it's going to be interesting what happens with the rotation if Rudy Gay doesn't play today. But I'm very interested in playing DeJounte Murray for sure.
Yeah, I think Murray is also going to be my preferred play, but Jakob Poeltl not too far behind. Josh, you mentioned Derek White as being somebody you find is interesting as a pivot to some of the other guys on his price point. But what else are you getting from the Spurs, and are you getting your boy Jake Puddle?
Yeah, so on FanDuel, we have Derek White coming in at like 1/3 the ownership of Murray. He's $200 more expensive. To me, this one's easy. I flip-flop those two guys. So I have a lot more White than DeJounte Murray on FanDuel. I just don't like the way that their ownership is split. I don't really have any Puddle on FanDuel. I did have a bunch of Jake Puddle on DK on my last run. 3x the field, I might add. We'll see where that sticks now that I'm rerunning for the Nuggets news, but I'm expecting to be there. 10% owned. So I like that people are kind of getting away from it. I'm cautiously optimistic that he can, I don't want to say stay out of foul trouble because Embiid is a nightmare and I'm clearly playing a bunch of Embiid. Those two guys that's not ideal for me right now. He's not a guy that like picks up fouls like crazy. I mean, he's not like Jaren Jackson. He's like a mid-tier big in terms of foul drawing rate. They need him. If he's not on the floor, they don't have other bodies that can hang with Joel Embiid. Like, not even remotely close. So, to me, I would expect them to want to lean on Jake Puddle as long as they possibly can. At the very least, I expect him to use all 6 of his fouls throughout this entire game. But I think they're going to run Jake Puddle out as intended. And I'm not at all, I don't want to say I'm not at all worried about foul trouble, but I'm not worried about it any more than I normally would be just based on Joel Embiid's like foul drawing ability.
You know, I think that's fair. And I think, too, you know, you combine those two thoughts. You see Poeltl coming off the foul trouble yesterday, which, again, if you're just tuning in, that is what led to him really getting the minutes decrease. It wasn't even a lineup thing. It was just that he kept picking up the foul basically the second he got in there. And I think he actually fouled out on an offensive foul. So even the worst possible way for that to go down. But yeah, I just think that there is a big opportunity here for Poeltl to get back on track. And you know, maybe due to the ownership, he is a pivot to a chalkier Miles Turner, who is at least as prone to disappointment. But you know, maybe some reasons to go to Poeltl because Josh mentioned it. Drew Eubanks is not doing much against Joel Embiid. That is a certainty. So they need Poeltl out there for sure. Let's keep going through here. And here's the marquee game. So guys, hit the like button if you can, because we need to have our most accurate predictions possible. And of course, we only get there with the amount of likes. That's how there's science. It's correlation. We always talk about it with DFS, but a 237 point combined total here from Memphis and New Orleans. Both teams winless so far in the bubble, but they need to win because they're playing for playoff spots. Zion's still minutes limited, probably not going to get where he needs to. So he should, I would think, be taken out of player pools or at least heavily limited in terms of your tournament exposure. But John Morant, chalk play of the day. Jaren Jackson still pretty chalky despite taking a price jump. He's been really good as a value play recently. Brandon Clark also looks like he'll be taken a lot as value. And you would think that he sees more minutes because of Jonas Valanciunas not being a great matchup, but still, you know, a 23 minutes projection for Clark can be a bit of a risk. The New Orleans side, not very owned besides Brandon Ingram, who does solve a lot of problems at small forward and power forward in terms of giving you a decent floor and a decent ceiling, especially with Zion's minutes limited. So Ryan, what are you getting from this game? And I guess let's start first with the Memphis chalk. Are you riding with John Morant, who's looked really good so far and playing heavy minutes because Memphis is trying to make the playoffs?
Yeah, I'm definitely riding John Morant. I think an underlooked restart story behind Memphis is they're playing without Tyus Jones. And they I feel like they kind of do feel lost when John Morant's not on the floor too. For ball handling duties, they've mixed around with Kyle Anderson, DeAnthony Melton, and whatnot. And yesterday, what was shocking was Grayson Allen got an uptick in minutes. I didn't get to watch the game and why he got this uptick in minutes. But I definitely do like Ja Morant. They need to win. They can't afford another loss. They'll be in serious jeopardy of losing that 8th seed. And I think New Orleans, I feel like New Orleans is, I think, 2.5 or 3 games behind Memphis. So with the win against Memphis, they pick up a game, and I think New Orleans definitely goes for the win here. On FanDuel, I really like Drew Holiday. I think he's priced at 7.6, and Brandon Ingram is due for an upside game, I feel like, in this bubble. And I'm willing to take some shots on Lonzo Ball on FanDuel, especially. That 8K price tag on DK is a little too high for my liking. But definitely interested in Ja Morant in the Memphis side of things for sure.
Josh, how are you feeling about Ja Morant here? And I guess let's also talk a little bit about the bigs, but I'm curious your Ja thoughts first and foremost, because you've gotten a little bit different in point guard, some other spots with some of the guys we talked about being highly owned. So are you with the field on Ja, or are you trying to get underneath it?
I am over the field on Ja. He's my most exposed player as of right now. I've been smashing him in his first 2 games. I see no reason to stop now. This game's going to be a track meet. I want the guy that is leading the track, so to speak. So give me some Ja Morant. It's really hard to not want to have this game. I've got a bunch of Jaren Jackson. I got a bunch of Brandon Clark. Let's see, who else do we got coming from this game? Dylan Brooks. Favors. I just want shares of anything that I can get here. It might be the most important game of the restart. Per 538, the Grizzlies have a 31% chance of making the playoffs. The Pelicans have a 35% chance. The Blazers 27. This is a 3-horse race, and 2 of those horses are facing each other today. More than anything, I just want to watch the game, but this is as good as it gets for DFS. 2 top 5-ish pace teams, 2 teams that are young, looking to run, looking to score. I think you'd be crazy to not have a lot of exposure here.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And you did transition a little bit to the New Orleans side. And really, I agree, like anybody you can put in play here. But I want to really get your specific thoughts on Brandon Clark, because he, to me, is one chalk player that jumps out as having some risk. I also think similarly, Jonas Valanciunas is a very direct pivot to Brandon Clark, who's had okay days against New Orleans, despite it being not a perfect matchup. He's very slow. New Orleans plays fast. That could be a bit of a problem there. But Josh, do you have any feel here for Jonas? Like, do you find it more valuable to go to Jonas at under 5% or to take Brandon Clark chalk at around 25?
I'm taking the Brandon Clark chalk. I don't have any Jonas. 7,900 is just a bit more than I'm looking for. And Derek Favors is really good. It's not like it's a good matchup for Valanciunas. Favors might not be like a DFS darling, but he's still fantastic defensively. So I'm avoiding Joe Val because of his price tag. 4,200 for Brandon Clark. I'm just going to take my chances that they get involved in this up-tempo matchup, and he's just hammering dunks. The threes are working, and he's able to just put together some sneaky like 20 and 10 type game.
Okay, yeah, that seems fair, and he's certainly capable of being very productive in short bursts too. So even if he doesn't get much above 20 minutes, you can definitely pay it off at a reasonable price. Ryan, how are you feeling here about the bigs for Memphis? And do you see any value in going to Jonas Valanciunas in a spot where, again, not a great matchup, but he's a little bit expensive, but maybe a spot where you could pay up to be contrarian?
Yeah, I mean, Jonas Valanciunas, obviously I think you'll get him at sub 5% owned. So I think, yeah, he can spike an upside, but there's just so many other good center options in terms of their price point. So I'm also similar to Josh. I don't have any right now. But in terms of bigs, Brandon Clark is, I agree with you. There is some risk there. He's priced at 4,200, I believe, and he does have center eligibility. I don't mind it. Like Josh said, this is going to be a track meet of a matchup. So he's going to get his run and he's going to do pretty well. I just don't know how high his ceiling is in this matchup where I could pivot to other places and spend up a few $100 more and try to get up to Porter is my take. But he's not a bad option at all. And I do understand where his ownership is currently coming in at.
Let's talk more about the New Orleans side, because we talked about Brandon Ingram. We talked about Josh mentioned Derek Favors, who does project pretty well at a reasonable price and could theoretically see some extra run because they need to have some size against Jonas Valanciunas theoretically. Drew Holiday, Lonzo also kind of at weird price points that seem like they'll result in them not having much ownership. We currently have Drew at under 11% projected ownership on DraftKings, Lonzo even less, closer to 5%. Ryan, are you getting any of these Pelicans guys besides Brandon Ingram? Are you going to Drew? Are you going to Lonzo, given that, like we talked about, this is a must-win game for them and also the highest projected combined total?
taking a look at the first DraftKings run I've made, I own no one currently above 10% for me in my first run. Some guy who I might actively try to make sure to get in a few shares in that probably won't show up in some optimizers is probably Derek Favors. I think he's priced at 5.3. And I think he, before the blowout, he was performing really well against the Clippers. And I don't mind this matchup. Like, it's going to move. Derek Favors is probably someone who I'm actively trying to get over the field. But the prices on DraftKings is kind of high to me. I mean, yeah, I think Ingram probably, if I were to pick one of Drew, Lonzo, and Ingram on DraftKings, I'd probably prefer Ingram as the one to lean on for sure. But Favors and Ingram lead the way for me for the Pelicans right now.
Josh, what are you doing here with the Pelicans where, again, Ingram should be a guy who's going to get a little more court time without Zion because of his recovery. And again, Drew and Lonzo both not going to be highly owned, but should be a fit for this matchup. Should have a good amount of pace. Memphis defense, definitely better than New Orleans, but going to give them some opportunity, probably big minutes as well. So where are you landing with the rest of these Pelicans?
Okay, so let's get FanDuel out of the way first. I have quite a bit of Drew Holiday, 40% in fact. Under the field on everybody else, including a pretty sizable 10% stand on Brandon Ingram. DraftKings, completely different story. Brandon Ingram, my most exposed Pelican, about 2x the field there. And I agree with Rynpak. I've got a little bit of Derek Favors. He's coming in at 5%. I'm not getting crazy. I have 15. So it's not as if I'm taking some monster stand, but I like this spot for him. I don't have all that much Drew Holiday here, only 6%. So under what we're projecting. I think 8,700 is just too much for him on DK, whereas on FanDuel, he's 7,600, just a lot easier to get to, especially with the positional constraints on FanDuel. So I'm kind of spread out across both sites. I should get the Pelicans right on one of them, you would think. So let's hope. Otherwise, it's going to be a big Nicola Melli, Frank Jackson day or something along those lines.
Oh, God.
Frank Jackson's hair looks great.
One person I think you can definitely take some shots on is JJ Redick. I think he's where you get the 3-point bonus on DK. I think that's take a few shots there for sure.
Also, quick shout out to El Negro Loco in the YouTube chat asking for a plug. Yeah, check out El Negro Loco's work. He's doing a good job with all the news updates for MLB, for NBA, for everything you need to know. He is called the news god lovingly by all of us internally and all the people in our premium Slack. So check out his live blogs, which have the latest news whenever anything breaks. If you're a person who's bad at Twitter, bad at keeping up with things, El Negro Loco's work is going to be very important. And you can check him out as part of our Awesemo memberships at awesemo.com/join with that promo code restart. Let's go through this last game here. We're not really going game by game here, but we should have some time to take some questions. So start thinking of your best questions and dropping them in either the premium Slack or the YouTube chat. I'll be checking both. Lakers, Utah. This game, really not a ton of ownership. I mean, you're going to have your Anthony Davis. You're going to have your LeBron. We all expect that. Dion Waiter is still popping up for me after he's been actually okay so far. He's not going to give you a big upside, but shooting 10 shots a game, like that mostly covers the Lakers side. Utah, though, really has kind of looked like one of the worst teams in the bubble so far in this very limited sample size. Mitchell not quite getting where he needs to. Gobert's been mediocre. Conley's been mediocre. Jordan Clarkson, we know he had a great day as chalk, and then he had a terrible day as chalk. So, Ryan, I'm going to ask you here, Utah, what are you doing with them? And are you getting any good amounts of these guys where it looks like Donovan Mitchell's going to have about 25% on them and everybody else, for the most part, overlooked given Utah's slow start?
Yeah, I'm pretty pissed off at Utah after what their performance they put up over the weekend. I had some nice lineups, and there was one Utah. It was like playing Minesweeper with Utah. It was just like they just ruined it. I don't like this matchup. They miss Bojan Bogdanovic quite a bit in terms of just like playing basketball as a team. And Jordan Clarkson has been ball hogging quite a bit. I mean, the nice thing about Utah is that it is a tight rotation, and I'm willing to take maybe a few shots on Conley and Mitchell, but I don't like Gobert in this matchup. I'm kind of skeptical in terms of how they perform, but in terms of like being above the field, I don't think it's going to be terribly too hard to get above the field on them, but I'm skeptical against this matchup. So I'm pretty disinterested in Utah, especially there's some other matchups in games that are going to be moving in this 5-game slate to take advantage of.
Josh, how are you feeling about Utah here? Because they are going to be a team that could be in a competitive game if we see the better version of themselves. Maybe it also could be that just not having Bojan Bogdanovic in the lineup has made them take a turn downwards. But we talked about Utah a lot in the first show that we did to start the year with me, you, and Alex on that opening night. And, it does seem like Utah, we had hopes for them coming in that they could figure it out, might even have some more viable fantasy players. And so far, these guys are not coming through. Is it time to buy in, Josh, or is it a real bad matchup against the Lakers and just stay away one more game?
I would really like to give my thoughts on this Utah-LA game, but I can't do that when our likes are only at 146. There are almost 1,400 people here. 10% is a terrible percentage of likes. So I refuse to do anything else until that number crests 200, which I assume will happen anyway. So I'm just going to keep talking. Donovan Mitchell, a guy that I have a little bit on both FanDuel and DK, slightly over the field on FanDuel, slightly under on DK. A little bit north on Conley on DK, and that's about it for the Jazz. I don't really like the spot. Gobert is sort of interesting. I don't know what to make of the matchup. Obviously, the Lakers like to run out bigs, which plays directly into Rudy Gobert's hands, and they don't really have a single good guard on the team. So that's a lot of poor created shots coming into the paint for Gobert to fully erase. I don't know if it works out like that. It could just be LeBron and AD fully waxing the Jazz, which I expect to happen, as I am showing by my 77% AD on FanDuel. But for the Jazz, I trust Mitchell. I trust Conley a little bit. I don't really trust anybody else.
Okay, yeah, now let's talk about this LA side, because the Lakers, we talked about, Josh mentioned Anthony Davis being a play that he's heavy on FanDuel. Josh, are you with LeBron and AD then on DraftKings as well? Or are you going heavy on these guys because of the fact that, there really aren't a lot of studs on the slate, and these are two guys we know have that upside?
Yeah, kudos to the chat, by the way. 307 likes. Doubled that bad boy up. I love it. So 80 on FanDuel is my play. 77%, just getting a ton. But I also have 35% on DK. We're projecting 18. I'm more than happy with that. For LeBron, I'm basically running neutral. This just strikes me as more of an Anthony Davis day than a LeBron James day. I don't know what the Jazz do to match up in this game. They are not set up well to guard Anthony Davis. I don't think they have not that teams are like running out 15 different dudes that can guard AD, but like the Jazz just aren't set up for that today. The only other guy that I'm taking a shot on, I'm not happy about it. It's not Waiters, unfortunately. I got a little bit of Kyle Kuzma on DraftKings.
Okay.
I feel like he just goes fully overlooked. I'm hoping he sees a couple additional looks just because of the attention they're going to have to pay to LeBron and AD. Maybe LeBron's feeling extra generous today, a couple extra kickouts. So Kuzma is the guy that I'm looking for from LA. Nothing crazy. He's only 6% owned. He's kind of a low owned flyer I like in a large field GPP.
And no Waiters for you? Not even one?
Not even one. Not in my player pool. What's my dog?
Right, well, on this slate, I don't know that you need Dion Waiters, but on Thursday, I think Dion Waiters made some nice lineups. So I would say Dion Waiters. Ryan, you want to be the tiebreaker here? Any Dion Waiters at all for you?
I'm okay with less than 5 in about 150 lineups. If the game were to blow out, I think Dion Waiters can get there. But going back to what Josh said, I love Anthony Davis in this matchup. I don't know who's going to guard him. Are they going to try to put Gobert on him? Is it going to be Royce O'Neal? I really like Anthony Davis. I do expect him to perform pretty well for that 9.8 price tag on DraftKings for sure. And additionally, I don't mind LeBron James. He's, I think, the highest priced player on the slate at 10.7. So that alone, I think, will lower his ownership. It's LeBron James. He can always garner that upside for you. So I don't mind LeBron either, but I definitely prefer Anthony Davis quite a bit. He is one of my top 5 owned players on DraftKings right now.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So you are making a full commitment there to Anthony Davis there. And I think the logic there definitely makes sense. And his price has also come down a little bit. So even more reason on DraftKings to go there. And people, as we all know, tend to fear that Utah matchup probably a bit more than they should. So if you have the money to get to Anthony Davis, if Ryan's there in a big way, you should probably be there at least a little bit or as close as you can get. Got some questions here in the premium Slack. And again, I'll be checking the premium Slack and the YouTube channel for some questions here for our last 13 minutes before lock. So hit that like button because it'll help your chances to get that question answered. We're going to go to the premium Slack first. Fantasy Wiz asking thoughts about Steven Adams on DraftKings. He's getting over 30%. I think Adams is the less owned of the three centers that I have a good amount of. I guess Pirtle's still pretty low owned in our most recent run of ownership, but I think Pirtle, Turner, Adams, those are the three guys you'd want at that price point if you're not going up to Embiid or, going to some other higher price guys out there if you really like Jokic. But how are you guys feeling? Ryan, how are you feeling about Steven Adams on DraftKings?
Let me just make sure I have his price correct. On Steven Adams, he is priced at 5.4. I don't mind it. He's done really well against Nikola Jokic in the past, so definitely priced at 5.4 is nice. I just want to say around 15%, so coming in at the field right now. So I definitely don't hate Steven Adams in this matchup, but I do prefer finding the extra $1,200 to get into the Miles Turner range. That's where I stand. That's why I think Steven Adams for me is not as high as he usually would be in this matchup.
Josh, how about you? Did you get any Steven Adams today as a lower owned guy who has, again, as Ryan just mentioned, been over 40 fantasy points? I think he had 55. Second match of his most recent matchup against Denver. You get any of them?
Oddly enough, yes. I don't normally get a lot of Steven Adams, but I am a hair above the field on DraftKings. 5,400, I think, is just a little too cheap for him. He's gonna, play somewhere in that 26 to 30 minute range. Hopefully, a little bit more, given maybe I get lucky and Nerlens Noel picks up a couple fouls in his second stint, and they got to go to Adams a little early. I wouldn't be mad about that because Denver's not short on big men. That's for sure.
Yep, I think that seems fair. And Adams, again, just a nice track record. And as Josh mentioned, very nice price on him relative to what some of the upside he's shown. Scoops Coat asking, or Cote, damn, I always screw this up. It's been too long, Scoops, sorry. Max 2 of Paul, SGA, and Gallo. Do you guys feel like that's necessary? Because I would say it wouldn't be my preference to get all those guys in many lineups if you were getting that, but I feel like you can play all three safely. Josh, how do you feel?
I mean, if I'm playing one lineup, that's not the construction I'm likely going with. If I'm playing 150 and that shows up like twice, I'm not like, I wouldn't want to set the group then to get rid of it. So it's an interesting balance. Would I want it a lot? No. Would I want it in my only lineup? No. Do I have a problem with it? Not really. Like, I like the idea of having those three guys and then, potentially having, what would be a good one here? So let's see, that'd be 19-3. Like, I don't think it would be crazy to have one of the Denver starters coming back with that 3-man trio, but I would try to get away from it in a single lineup format.
How are you feeling about that, Ryan? Do you think that would be a move for you to try to get away in a single lineup, or I guess are you making these rules to limit to two of the main Thunder players there for all of your crunches?
Yeah, so I kind of just like similar to what Josh said. I don't mind it. I'm pretty heavy on Shea, so. And I've kind of made sure Danilo is kind of like around the field and less than the field for me. So if it happens, I kind of deal with it and go from there. But it doesn't seem like it's going to happen a lot for me. So less inclined to then to do it. But it's kind of where I stand. I know it sounds a little confusing, but it's kind of where I'm coming in at.
Here's an easy one. XXX Achilles XXX asking, I think before Jamal Murray's news came through, do you prefer Murray to Brogdon on DK? No, I prefer Brogdon. I think that's a slam dunk play.
He might be asking about DeJounte Murray. They're both the same
damn
price.
It. All right. Well, DeJounte Murray then. You got to specify your Murrays. Could have been Bill Murray too. I don't know. I prefer Brogdon, but I actually have a lot of Murray and Brogdon, so I'm not the person here. But Ryan, you got the question right, so you can answer. DeJounte Murray or Brogdon, do you have a lean?
I think depending on, I don't know what Brogdon's ownership is going to come in at, but I'll take my chances with Brogdon in this matchup. I like Brogdon here, and hopefully he gets over that 30-minute hump today.
Also, somebody in the YouTube chat keeps asking about FanDuel ownership. It was updated 13 minutes ago, so I'm not sure. If you're looking for a specific Slate ownership, you have to go check the different tabs. But the ownership came in 13 minutes ago for all the sites, so that's why. I'm not sure what the issue is for that guy. But Josh, do you have an answer to that question about Brogdon or what's the other side of the question? Brogdon or Murray?
Yeah. I prefer DeJounte Murray in that I have DeJounte Murray and I don't have Brogdon. I'm going to given the ownership that I see on Brogdon, I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that he just doesn't play enough to be a problem to me. If I knew that Malcolm Brogdon played 30 or more minutes, I would probably have a lot more. I don't know what to make of his health right now. I assumed he wasn't playing all day. And then we get word of he'll have his minutes monitored, which is coach speak for we're going to make up whatever we do with Malcolm Brogdon as the game goes on. I'm just going to hope that he's either bad or not on the floor as much as I would expect him to be. I'm a little surprised to see his ownership climb that much, which makes me nervous that he's just going to play 32 minutes and destroy me.
Yeah, no, and that's what I'm hoping, honestly, is that somebody in the chat actually just reposted the quote. Coach Nate McMillan stated that Brogdon won't have a restriction, will have his minutes monitored. So if he does have, if his neck flares up, I'm going to be screwed. If his neck's feeling great, I would think that it'll be a pretty good play for Brogdon. But I have more Brogdon than Murray right now, but these are two of my highest exposed point guards. I tried to get a little away from Ja Morant. I'm with there. Like, I think Morant's a great play, but I think these guys are a little bit cheaper and can get to where Morant is. So that's one of my point guard moves on the day.
Let's not forget, Washington is atrocious. Like, they might not want to play Malcolm Brogdon all that much because Washington is not a real NBA team.
So if you're going to work out the kinks for a guy who's been hurt and if he's feeling good, I mean, there's no better team to work out the kinks for Indiana with either. So I think you make a case either way, but I think that's fair too. And Washington coming off the back-to-back too, not going to help him out too much, maybe even less motivation or less success. Let's see other questions here. Also, Alex pointing out on SuperDraft that they are looking like they'll overlay a bit. So make sure to take advantage of overlay. It's the best thing you can do as a DFS player. And also use that promo code Awesemo10. That's AWESEMO 10. Got the spelling right that time. So make sure to get your $10 free with a deposit of $10 or more and $20 free with a deposit of $100 or more. And again, just check SuperDraft all the time. Check the lobbies for SuperDraft.io or on the App Store because they do regularly have overlay, as happens with a lot of new sites. And it's a great thing for you to help get some more money in addition to the bonuses. Strickstein came in late and is asking for thoughts on Porter Jr. I know Ryan and I were a little more a fan of his today, going back after he just disappointed so many people as chalk. I think it's a logical move because he can spike that big upside any day if he heats up and actually plays some defense. But Ryan, your final crunches, where'd you land with Porter Jr.?
I will tell you on DraftKings, he will also probably be he's coming in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th. He's coming in 6th, just under Ja Morant for me. So I like him quite a bit. I'm just hoping the field falls off of him and just kind of zigging when everyone else zags. And hopefully that pays off. But there's a risk. Obviously, Malone, like I said, thinks Porter Jr. is a ghost on defense. And it's kind of obvious Porter is never interested in playing defense. But he's a walking bucket, in my opinion. So can definitely strike an upside. So hopefully he hits that today.
And just got a question here about best SuperDraft plays today. If you are going over to SuperDraft and take advantage of that promo code Awesemo10, you can use some of these plays here. Our top SuperDraft plays, according to Awesemo's projections, currently look like Miles Turner, Malcolm Brogdon, Thomas Bryant, Ja Morant, DeJounte Murray. Those are the top 5 on there. Sprinkle, maybe do some pivots if you want to put in a few lineups on there. But those guys all have pretty good multipliers and project well, according to Awesemo. So that should be a good base for you to build on. Use that promo code Awesemo10 at superdraft.io or by downloading SuperDraft in the App Store. Morgan in the premium Slack asking thoughts on a Rui pivot from Bryant. Rui hasn't shown much so far in the bubble, but Josh, do you have any lean on Rui? I didn't get a single share of Rui today.
Yeah, one of my bigger fades of the day. I don't have any Rui.
Ryan, do you have any Rui?
The only place I'm playing Rui is in the afternoon 4 p.m. 2-game slate. I kind of have to play Rui, so that's the only place where I have Rui. That's Rui for me.
The only place I'm playing Rui is in a tournament where you have to play somebody named Rui. That's the spot where it works out the best. But yeah, I don't see the value in Rui a ton. I think if you really wanted to pivot, maybe go to Mo Wagner and hope that Brian gets his minutes limited on a back-to-back. But I don't see that being a play I'd want to make very much unless you have an absolute ungodly amount of lineups. Kane in the premium Slack asking, would running Porter and Millsap on FanDuel together be viable? It wouldn't be a move I would take today. But Josh, do you have any feel for playing Porter and Millsap together?
I mean, sure. There's nothing wrong with it. It always depends on what's in the rest of your lineup, or at least generally depends on what's in the rest of your lineup. Now, like Porter and Millsap could just play, 28 minutes apiece and have no bearing on each other and still both be good. I don't have a problem with it. I would probably end up on a different construction, but I have around the field of Porter, around the field of Millsap. I'm guessing I have a lineup or two of them both. No problem with it. Just not my goal.
Okay. Yeah, that seems fair. Ryan, do you have any lean here? I mean, it doesn't seem like an optimal play necessarily, but one way to get different with your lineup on FanDuel, would you play Porter and Millsap?
Yeah, it might be like a psychological thing where people don't like seeing two players of the same team, especially on FanDuel, and that way you have to play two. But I don't mind it. They can definitely both get there, but it's probably less likely to happen than it does. So I think go with your gut. I have probably a few lineups with them, but it's not like I'm going out of my way to make sure they're both in there.
Also, Mujahid Ashfaq, which I hope I pronounced correctly, saying Rui going to kill now. Yeah, I guess that does seem. If Rui goes off, remember that we all said I see no reason to play Rui, and really blame Ryan for saying he's only playing him on the 2-game slate. I think that's the way to handle that one. A couple of minutes left to lock, guys. So get those lineups in. Checking for any last questions. You guys, you have your exposure. Josh, actually, do you want to give your full exposures, or do you have a lean with your exposures that you're most concerned about?
No, I'm happy to rip off everything I've got. I'll give everybody at the top. 57%, this is DK, 57% Ja, 55% Troy Brown, 45% Justin Holiday, 39% Derek White, 38% Shea, 38% Brandon Clark, 35% AD. Those are the big numbers on my sheet right now.
Ryan, anything interesting jumping out to you in your final exposures?
Yeah, I have about, I'm pretty high on Turner. I'll just go down in order of my players who I have. Turner, SGA, Justin Holiday, Anthony Davis, Morant, Porter, Brogdon, and Clark. Round out, I want to say that's my top 8 or 9. And then DeJounte Murray is probably my top 10. Those are my top 10 ownership. I mean, I have, I'm making a stand with Miles Turner. I have 70% of Miles Turner today. So that's my highest owned player. So I'm going with that today. And hopefully, wow.
I got 60, so I'm with you, Ryan. I'm open. I mean, look, I love Josh, but Ryan's the one who's really moving up the charts. So I'm feeling pretty good about Miles.
Josh, I'm curious why you only have 4 priced at 6-1 is my question to you. Is it just like making a stand against the field? Is that the main reason why you're just coming in at 4, or is there another reason?
Yeah, I think that he and Gallo are getting lopped off of a large bit of my crunch from just creating too chalky of a lineup. So really, he grades out well. It just so happens that there are pivots around his salary tier that are picking up like a third of the ownership. That makes it a little bit easier for me to get there. Jaren Jackson in particular.
Fair enough. Okay. I was just curious. I mean, being so I think we were very similar in the players we like besides that first game in Brogdon and Turner. So it's interesting to see how that plays out throughout the day.
Yeah, I think his ownership is just crushing me.
Goran Dragic had put up 40 fantasy points in the first game. So there goes the FanDuel slate.
Is he owned?
That's one thing I'm sure someone played him, but we'll see.
Yeah, FanDuel, keep your eye on the different timings for everything, because today I think for the first time we're seeing FanDuel do a different timing than DraftKings for their main one. Of course, SuperDraft as well. If one of these sites changes, things can be different. So make sure you're watching your lock times and all of that, and keeping abreast of everything, because it's a moving target with some of these NBA and MLB as well, the timings of the slates each day. So just something to keep an eye on. All right, guys, we got enough here. Josh, any plugs you want to hit on or anything you want to touch on before we call it quits?
Contenders video out each morning. Mondays was out earlier today. I'll have one every single day of the work week, so check that out. Do we have any shows after this? I don't think we do. Are we done? We do have a show? Baseball Live Before Lock, right? Yeah, coming up at 6 p.m. I'm guessing with, I don't know, somebody that isn't me.
Shit My Money and Jake today.
There we go.
Yeah, good duo, very sharp duos. One definitely I'll be watching later today if I I'll throw in some MLB lineups. Why not? MLB though, not as well run as NBA. Things are kind of dumpster fiery for the MLB.
I want to be playing so much more MLB, but there's so much work to do in NBA, and I just don't have the time to like circle back and get to it, or the motivation, which is a shame because I'm better at MLB than I am at NBA.
Yeah, but watch Shaken NBA today. Those guys are awesome. And Ryan, how about you? Any plugs?
This feels bad.
Yeah, sign up for the promo code Restart. Make sure to get in that deal. And also, who's going to play for the Nets tomorrow is my question. I have no idea. And that's gonna. If you get that right, you're gonna win a lot of money. So.
41% Miles Turner in the big DK tournament. It's 56% Shea. So Shea is the ungodly chalk, which we had expected, guys. So we're all wishing you the best luck. As Ryan mentioned, use that promo code Restart. As I told you guys up top, this is going away today. It's not any sort of bait and switch thing. It's done today. So use the promo code Restart to get half off your first month of Awesemo Plus. And that includes all the sports, PGA, and MMA, NBA, MLB, everything that's out there right now, NASCAR, esports, anything that's out there you get with this package. So take advantage of it while it's there. We will not have as good of a deals coming up for at least a little bit. So make sure to use that today. Promo code Restart at Awesemo.com/join. And always keep your eyes on the SuperDraft lobby because they have a ton of tournaments with overlay, including one today that did not quite fill. So there's always a lot of opportunities to make money at SuperDraft while also playing the future of daily fantasy sports. So check them out at superdraft.io or download SuperDraft in the App Store and use the promo code Awesemo10 when you sign up for $10 free or $20 free if you deposit more than $100. And that's it, guys. Wish you guys the best of luck. Watch MLB in 2 hours. Bye.